We got that dynamite. We got that dynamite.
Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Find a plan that goes with your flow. Get unlimited local talk, text, and data at the most affordable rate with Unlimited Flow Postpaid, only at Docomo Pacific.
Try Wendy's deliciously indulgent mushroom bacon cheeseburger made with juicy beef, crispy applewood smoked bacon, savory roasted mushrooms, Munster cheese, and a creamy garlic spread all in a soft toasted bun. Make it a combo and try it in a double or triple. Wendy's, good, done right. Beat the heat and indulge in fruity cold smoothies at Cold Stone Creamery today. And if you're looking for a healthier alternative, they've got an acai bowl packed with fruits for a refreshing holiday from the hot sun and whatever is stressing you out. Take the family, treat your friends, or hog it all to yourself. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good evening, my dear friends. It is 10:20 p.m. on Wednesday, January 29, 2025. It's been a long day. I still got a lot to do, but I really needed to get this editorial out because there's just so much more that needs to be done. There's so much that needs to be done in this island, on the government side, on the private sector side, and on the news side. And so let's just get started with this editorial. The Guam Legislature needs to help Lou Leon Guerrero to develop the new medical campus in Mangilao. And by help, I mean they need to remove the impediments to that long-awaited progress. We have waited far too long for the government of Guam to replace Guam Memorial Hospital. Several legislatures composed of scores of senators on both sides of the aisle have managed only to impede the progress pushed by the current governor and her predecessor, Eddie Calvo. This is a bipartisan thing. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Had some current senators and former senators put away their pride, partisanship, and political ambition in favor of the greater good of our island, we wouldn't be talking about a new GMH right now. We'd be using it. But here we are. Decades after GMH in Tamuning has outlived its purpose, fresh from a 3-year impasse on the location of a new GMH. Hi, Sandra. Hi, everybody. Thanks almost entirely to 2 or 3 obstructionist senators, 1 doctor, and now the Attorney General. Despite these obvious political shenanigans, the governor is moving swiftly to develop not just a new GMH, but an entire medical campus that will transform Backroad to Andersen into a city. Her vision, and you're going to hear it in depth and detail when we release the sit-down interview that we had with the governor, her vision really is a work of art. Doug Moylan, the Attorney General, has taken the administration to federal court, trying to stop the governor from utilizing federal funds already approved for the medical campus program. He's alleged that the way the funds were obligated was improper and illegal. The thing is, the federal grantor said otherwise. Here's what Mr. Moylan said when we asked him. This is his quote. We asked him about, there was an article in the PDN about how he intends to refuse to sign off on contracts to move the new hospital forward. And there will be several. We're talking about the laying of infrastructure, as in the water, power, and sewer, that it's going to go from Route 10 Mangilao all the way through into Fidian. We're talking about the A&E design. We're talking A&E. We're talking about the design. We're talking about the bond. I mean, there are just so many things that require, so many moving parts in the government that require our leaders to work together. So this is what the Attorney General said. He said, my attorneys researched and issued 2 formal and public legal opinions that the governor and Gura's medical complex is illegal. CCU member Francis Santos properly stated that they have a duty to protect our ratepayer monies and require written contracts duly authorized. The reference to the CCU deals with the movement of approved federal funds from GIDA to GPA and GWA for the installation of the power, water, and infrastructure at the Fidian location. The installation of these utilities means that GPA and GWA for every landowner along the way to benefit from think that there is stale economic privately owned and within the Chamorro Land Trust and the Ancestral Lands inventories will be able to spring to life, creating economic development opportunities at a rural level. The governor's office responded to what the AG said. Crystal Pacos Augustine, the spokeswoman, said, and the director of communications said, the AG's opinions on hospital land are politically motivated and wrong. The AG is jeopardizing $100 million. The AG has been blocking the construction of a new hospital since he refused to sign the no-cost lease of the Eagles Field. Now he is not only attempting to block the construction of a new hospital once again, but obvious that these attempts to block the construction of a new hospital are politically motivated because his analysis of Guam law is woefully inadequate and quite simply just plain wrong. That's the quote from Crystal Pacos and Augustine. And signing off on contracts for form and legality of expenditures are... Is there an audio issue? Sorry. Ron Eclevea is saying that there's on it appears the island may be headed for yet another impasse in hospital development. Another one, right? I mean, we just can't win here. So the Attorney General said, this is his quote, as part of Guam law, the AG would have to review the contracts for being legal, which we already have opined cannot be approved. The elected AG has a duty. No sound? What is going on? What is happening? There's no sound at all? Huh. I don't know what's going on. I'm not seeing any problems on my end. No. Mic test, mic test. No. I don't know what's going on. um, is there sound on now? I don't know what happened. All of the lights and all of the stuff on the computer is saying that everything was fine. So I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now? Everything good? Okay. Thank you guys for letting me know that. Can you tell me which part I left off on? Which part you were last able to hear? Let's see. You know what? I'll just choose a place and then we can go from there. What is going on here? There we go. So it's unclear what documents for the progress of the development will require the AG's signature, but the Guam law does specify the AG's role in signing off on contracts for form and legality if expenditures are above a certain threshold. I want to say that threshold is $500,000, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked at the law in a long time. But since the AAG in 2023 revoked the delegation of authority for the special AAGs within the autonomous agencies to sign off on contracts for him, it appears that we may be headed for another impasse in hospital development. So the AG says, as part of Guam law, the AG would have to review the contracts for being legal, which we already have opined cannot be approved. The elected AG has a duty to protect our taxpayers and ratepayers' monies by not authorizing illegal expenditures. Let me pause there and say, I agree with him. I agree that, part of the reason that we elected an AG, part of the reason we have an AG is to ensure that things are being complied with, right? Okay, continuing with what the AG says. Guam law likewise makes certifying officers personally and criminally liable for any authorizations that violate Guam law. We are watchdogs to protect our people. And so I sent that to the governor's office and asked for Crystal Paco San Augustine's response to that. And she says her contention is that it is the AG's actions that are jeopardizing the $100 million in federal funds expenditures. She says, Moylan says, leaders and government officials risk causing all of us to repay the federal government for the $100 million if illegally spent. The people elected one attorney to give all other government officials the legal advice if a matter is legal or not. For the governor and Gura, as well as Gita and any other official to proceed in light of the two legal opinions exposes them to criminal prosecution as set forth in Guam law. That's the quote from the Attorney General's office. So the governor's office pointed out that AG opinions are just that. They're opinions. This is something that, we knew when we were in the governor's office as well. Is that when Elizabeth Barrett Andersen was the Attorney General, we understood that her opinions were only legal opinions. Elizabeth Barrett Andersen and her attorneys were able to reason and rationalize their opinions together with the Governor Eddie Calvo's legal counsel. There was harmony. If the AG, Elizabeth Barrett Andersen, said, guys at the governor's office, you guys can't be doing this because the law says this. She or her attorneys would speak with governor's legal counsel. They would smooth through whatever it was, and the governor's office would end up listening to Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Andersen. But of course, we see there are two different sets of people here now. We have Doug Moylan and Lou Leon Guerrero, and they have been at odds. And so Crystal Paco San Augustine says they were quick to point out that these are just opinions. They have no binding effect, and neither are they considered to be law. And according to her, Mr. Moylan's opinion is wrong and worse, politically motivated. So here's Crystal San Augustine's quote. She says, remember, this AG has a record of wrongly accusing this administration. He wrongly accused GRTA and public health of corruption and lost both cases in court. The AG is again wrongly accusing the administration simply because he does not want the governor to build a new hospital. The Guam Legislature That's her quote, by the way. The Guam Legislature, our senators, need to do something about this. They need to see this for what it is. This is another Simon Sanchez High School debacle in the making. This is another round of politics, another delay, another impasse, another loss for we, the people. It's not a loss for the AG. It's not a loss for the governor, and it's not a loss for the senators. It's a loss for us. And what makes this worse than the inability for GovGuam to build Simon Sanchez High School is that we are talking about the island's only public hospital. We are talking about lives that are at stake. If federal grantors, and both U.S. HUD and the Treasury Department are notoriously known for their strict monitoring of federal grants, have given the governor their blessing as to the legality of the use of the funds, then what's the problem here? What is the holdup? For the past 3 years, the critics of the governor, including us here at Kandit, have searched to find any special interest that may be tied to the governor. All we were able to determine with this program was that the governor did a really bad job marketing it, and that she should have been a lot more transparent in the beginning about her efforts. No one could find even a shred of evidence or one credible source to say that something fishy was happening. In fact, the only special interest that has emerged is that of at least one doctor who has made it his mission to oppose the governor on anything she does without any real rationale. Whatever that is, whatever's causing that, it has nothing to do with any public purpose or interest. One has to question why a doctor, of all people, would fight the development of a new hospital. Because to me, and I hope to you, it doesn't matter. I really don't care who gets the credit for this thing, because I am 44 years old, and people in my family, we drop dead in our 70s, which means if I'm lucky, and all those years of doing meth tells me I'm not going to be that lucky, I've got like 25 years left on this planet, and so, God willing, and between now and that time, I'm going to be a patient at Guam Memorial Hospital for the last time. And I have to imagine, and I have to want this for everybody else just as much as I want this for me, that I would have proper care in a proper facility. And the idea of a medical campus where you can build that women and children's hospital there. You know, Dr. Shea has this thing going about a women and children's hospital, building it at Ipaw Point. They could build it at this medical campus if they want. Well, but that doesn't affect me as much as my desire to see an assisted living center, because I don't have kids. At some point, I'm going to be decrepit and I'm going to need assisted living, just like many of you are going to need assisted living for quality care when we're aged. And that's something else that's probably going to go in this medical campus if it can get off the ground. If everyone can stop standing in the way of its development, if everyone can just see beyond Lou Leon Guerrero, beyond everyone's or all these different people's dislike of the governor for whatever reasons, who cares? Let's build the damn thing. I wanted to do this when Eddie Calvo was the governor. The legislature wouldn't let him do it. The Democrats in the legislature were just hell-bent on not giving him that legacy. And now, different set of people, same story. People hell-bent on preventing Lou Leon just because you don't like her. I don't know what the location issue. It has been time to move forward, because the location is set. Ipaw Point's not a thing. It's not going to be a thing. The money is dedicated at Fadian. So unless we're going to lose all of that money and all of that time, we need to accept that Mangilao is the location of this new hospital. And if we are reasonable citizens, then we're going to want this effort to succeed. And whether you name it after Lou Leon Guerrero, or you name it after Therese Terlahi, or Chris Barnett, or Tom Shea, really, I really don't give half a rat's ass whose name goes on that building. Because when I go there, and when you go there, and your children and your grandchildren go there, the last thing that we're going to care about is the name on that building. All we're going to care about is that it's there. For us. One has to question why, in the absence of any compelling evidence of corruption or cronyism, any reasonable person at this stage would stand in the way of a new hospital for our people in the generations to come. The path forward needs to be cleared by senators, and this is what I propose in this editorial. Two things. One, first, the legislature needs to pass legislation similar to the statute that they enacted where they allowed GPA to proceed with improving the power system. Remember when we were having the emergency power outages, the load shedding, and GPA had to go out and they had to procure things in order to help us to breathe until Ukudu comes online. The legislature stepped in and they allowed GPA to proceed with their projects without. So right now, in according to our stupid procurement law, when a protest happens in a procurement, the procurement has to stop. This is why, like, so many things can't get done in our government, and this has been a problem ever since. And one has to, and speaking of special interests, one has to question the interests of those people who have been blocking procurement reform for the past several years, including the so-called procurement guru who has been blocking any type of change to the procurement law when we know that the procurement system is broken. So if the legislature could give GPA the ability to, instead of when a protest is filed, instead of halting a project, the project would move forward as the procurement protest is being dealt with by the proper authorities. Senators can mirror that legislation to allow GMH construction to proceed while any protest is being reviewed. And I want to take it a step further. And I hope the legislature will require protesters to post bonds for the full amount of any contract that's in question, any contract that they're protesting. And if a judge finds that a protest was frivolous, that protester would forfeit the full amount of the bond to the government of Guam. Teach these selfish companies to take their greed somewhere else. Second, and more imminent to deal with the problem at hand, the legislature either needs to revoke the Attorney General's sole signatory authority or altogether abolish the position of the elected AG, return that position to gubernatorial appointment, and instead authorize the election of a chief prosecutor. We cannot afford another ridiculous delay to the development of this medical campus. Too much is riding on the success of this program, and it's time to stop screwing around with this. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. You all have a wonderful evening. Good night, and I love you all.